Good morning, everyone. This is Curtis Hawks over at Insurance Agency Marketing Services. Want to thank you for taking some time with us today to, I think, cover some very important concepts in the context of using life insurance is not just a savings vehicle, but an efficient wealth transfer vehicle, as well as to mitigate the impact of taxation. So before we get into that, did want to take a couple of minutes and go through some of the additional ways that IAMS can help our advisors. First of those is our new producer builders. As you can see up here, we've got a number of different items um, up on the screen. And as a new producer to IAMS, you can see at the different tiers, there's a variety of different things that you can qualify for, whether it's workshops, direct mail, digital advertising, creative design. The other thing I would mention to you as well, if there's something that you're doing that's working well, reach out, talk to a sales director, 800-255-5055, and we can certainly customize this for you as well. In addition to that, we've got our IAMS Business Builders. First up is our Referred Producer Program. And this is a great opportunity if you're working with us right now and you know somebody who maybe is looking to make a change. This is a great way to introduce them to us and on an ongoing basis, on a quarterly basis, get checks based off of their production. You don't have to do anything. We'll take care of all the service and support for the agent. But it's a great way to generate an additional revenue stream for your business. In addition to that, we've got our marketing reimbursement program. How that works is for every 100,000 of index annuity premium, you get an additional $100 of marketing reimbursement, and $200 for every 100,000 of single premium life, as well as $200 for every 10,000 of target. And so it's a great way to increase the size of your marketing budget, and that's been one of the things that we've seen over the course of the last year and a half as well. Is it's not just about being more creative with how you market, but also investing some additional dollars in there to generate the consistent flow of prospects that you're looking for. In addition to that, I have to highlight back office support. I think that there's really been a spotlight put on that here as carriers have staff working remote. And so having a good back office here to support you, whether it's from the initial case design and sales strategies to the new business processing, licensing, commissions, et cetera. What I would tell you is I think we do it better than most. And if you haven't had a chance to test out our back office support, I would strongly encourage you to do so. In addition to that, I did want to mention that we do integrate with Firelight. Up here, you can see all the carriers that we work with. We also integrate with iPipeline as well on the life insurance side. E-apps, as we've all seen, have grown over the last year and a half, and you do have access to that through our website with a single login. In addition to that, we've got our creative design and creative marketing solutions over here. And I'd mentioned earlier, creative is a key, and I really do think that there has been more creativity in marketing here over the last year and a half. And so our team runs the gamut from web design, social media, copywriting, digital advertising, you name it. And so one service that we offer, if you're looking to increase your brand presence or trying to increase the flow of prospects that you have, is we do offer a custom marketing analysis to where we can go through what your marketing plan is right now, what are the marketing assets that you have, what do you want things to look like, and then put together a customized marketing plan. So I'd encourage you, if you're interested in that, it's a complimentary service we provide. Reach out, talk to a sales director, and they can help you with that. In addition to that, as I'd mentioned, we've got our e-app platforms on the IAMS website. We've got life insurance quoting software, we've got annuity quoting software, we've got over 75 different calculators on there, along with our sales resource library, which literally has hundreds of different point of sale pieces that you can use face-to-face or virtual to position a variety of topics and everything from, what is an IRA, or what is a 401k, or how does an annuity work, to, private split dollar and everything in between. So you get full access to that as a licensed agent. If you haven't registered on our site yet, I would encourage you to reach out, talk to a sales director, and they can help you with that as well. In addition to that, we do have an RIA, IAMS Wealth Management. Right now is a great time. If you've been thinking about adding that as part of your practice, it's a great time to go through that process. Charles and his team do an amazing job, and I would encourage you to, if you've got questions on that, reach out, talk to their team, and they can walk through how they work, the service, the support they provide, and how they can help grow your practice. In addition to that, we're very excited about this. We've got our Top Producer Summit set for next August through the first part of September, and is going to be a Mediterranean cruise. And so you can see there that we're going to be working our way around the boot of Italy, but all high-end, concierge level, um, stopping at multiple ports. And so there's still plenty of time to qualify. That qualification actually runs through June 30th of next year. And so if you'd like to learn some more about that and how you can participate in that, just certainly feel free to reach out and talk to one of the sales directors over here. In addition to that, we also have another promotion going for our Escape to Paradise in partnership with Athene. That event runs through the end of this year and only takes $2 million of Athene production to qualify. The other thing I would mention to you is you do get double production credit. So the production that you do toward the Athene event also qualifies you for our annual trip as well. Lastly, I did want to mention that we are going to be doing a couple of different life and annuity academies. We've got those coming up here at the end of September as well as the beginning of November. And so I'm going to launch our first poll of the day. So let me go ahead and get that launched. But it really is an amazing event. We're going to have a number of top multi-million-dollar producers there presenting on how they run their business, how they market, how they prospect. We're going to be doing a deep dive into macro tax planning. Many of you probably saw that we rolled out our macro tax planning package earlier in July, but taxes in retirement is a huge topic. There's a ton of consumers that are concerned about that, and so we'll be doing a deep dive into how to position assets, different sales concepts, ideas, and strategies to generate tax-free income or reduce down the impact of taxation in retirement. In addition to that, we're going to be covering a variety of different ways to market and prospect within your business. IAMS as a whole, we've got over 40 different systems. And so we'll be going through the different options that we have and how that can make a positive impact in your business. So it's a great opportunity. We've got limited space available. The first event is going to be September 29th through October 1st, and the second event is going to be from November 3rd through the 5th. We are almost at capacity on the first event. Second event, we still got a little bit of space left, but I would encourage you, if you're interested in that, reach out and talk to a sales director, and certainly we'll take a look at the poll and reach out to you as well on anybody that's interested in attending. So I'm going to go ahead and close that down. With that, I'm going to get this switched over here and get it over to Doug Murphy, who is my co-presenter for today with Baltimore Life. And so he's going to cover a few different concepts. He's going to talk about why Baltimore Life. And, again, I think in today's day and age, where we've got future tax increases on the horizon and potential market volatility, single premium life can really be an effective tool to help mitigate those risks that people have in retirement. So I'm going to get this switched over to him real quick. The other thing I would mention to you as well is we've seen significant growth in the single premium life space. And, as you look at sources of funds, and I know Doug's going to talk about this, but you can generate a very effective return on SPL. And so when you talk about better leverage, better yield, getting assets into more tax advantaged position, it can make a whole heck of a lot of sense to take a look at this and incorporate this into your portfolio products. And so with that, Doug, I'll hand it over to you. All right.
I want to say thank you to Curtis personally and to the good people at IAMS. I think the last screens of the last presentation that Curtis just went through just demonstrates to you guys, that if you probably something you already know, but demonstrates to us as a carrier how critical and what kind of relationship and support that IAMS provides to us producers. It's great to see that. it's also great to have such a special relationship with an IMO and the principals involved at IAMS. So I want to start off with that and say how much I appreciate that and appreciate them allowing me to speak to you today. We're going to talk very briefly about asset transfer. I call it asset transfer for the middle market. As Curtis said, we're in different times these days. Tax laws have changed. You got changes now to RMDs and things of that nature. But I'm going to talk about two particular products that address this market. And when I say middle market, it's really, we're not looking at this is all simplified issue business. This is, there's no parameds on this. There's no blood profiles. It's all fairly simplified underwriting. We're going to talk about two products. I'm not going to get so much into the products as I am around the concept and the sales ideas. But I'd welcome your questions as well too. And Curtis, if questions do come up, you can bring those up because I'm not looking at my comment section on my screen.
Absolutely. Yep.
The first thing I think about this middle income market. You think about what's important to your clients. Living comfortably in retirement. They're not wanting to be necessarily wealthy. They're just wanting to live comfortably, maintain good health. They're looking for happiness and welfare of the children and grandchildren, and they want to leave some assets to their heirs. I think one of the things too, they need guidance from an agent. An agent that's going to understand the client's needs, help them arrive at a solution. And I think it's critical to be able to explain that solution fairly simply and have simple products that do that. When I think about retirement and retirement planning, and this is probably an old hat to you guys, but I always break it down into three funds: retirement funds, contingency funds, and legacy funds. And I think your clients segregate in their own, whether they're doing it on paper, they're probably doing it in their own mind. They got money set aside for retirement. They got some money set aside and just what I call just in case money. And then they've got legacy fund money they want to leave behind to their kids, grandkids, church, charity, whatever it is. That can be done through trust. But most middle market clients don't want to undergo the effort, and they don't want to give up control of their assets in any way. So I think that's important when you think of the source of the funds. And the two products we've got, really the biggest difference of those I'll show you in a few minutes is the source of the funds and where the funds come from. Is it qualified or non-qualified funds? Retirement funds. Now, retirement funds, we include to be your expected Social Security benefit, pension plans, distributions from 401ks, IRAs, etc. And according to a 2017 American College study, people between the ages of 65 and 70, 75% of these people, those between ages 65 and 70, 75% had a defined benefit plan. Now keep that figure in mind too, because that's going to come back in a second. Now, baby boomers entering retirement, retiring baby boomers, these are people that haven't retired yet, but on the cusp of it, have a median savings of $147,000 in all household retirement accounts. Doesn't sound like a lot, especially when you're talking about asset transfer and living off retirement funds and things like that. But that's actually up considerably from 2012. 22% of baby boomer workers have less than $55,000 saved. However, only 51% of that group are very concerned about outliving their savings in retirement. Now, why do you think that would be? When you think about that, 22% of baby boomers have less than $55,000 saved, but however, they're only about half of that is concerned about outliving their savings in retirement. Well, we find that most of those, when I went back before and I told you that a lot of these people have defined benefit pension plans. They have defined benefit pension plans. They're back in probably the mid-90s and before. The predominant form of retirement plan was a defined benefit pension plan. These people have that type of plan. They're living off of their defined benefit pension. They're living off their Social Security. And any retirement plan, a 401k or IRA that they had grow after that period of time, maybe when their pension went away, is probably just sitting out there in their mind as what I would call just in case, what if type of money. What if I need a new house, roof on my house? What if I need a medical procedure? Just in case money that's left out there. And if they have any left over, they're going to use that and pass it on to their heirs. So that's why I think there's not a lot of concern with this group of middle market clients, is that they are living off pensions and Social Security. But a lot of them, that same group, have grown and have been able to contribute money into 401ks, which have now been turned into IRAs. in most cases since that time. So that's what they're living off of, we find. Then contingency funds, assets your clients don't expect to use to live off of. Funds set aside for unexpected financial crisis or medical need, underperforming retirement funds, outliving retirement funds. And life insurance can be an opportunity for clients to increase the value of this fund. Obviously, the cash value in any life insurance policy is going to go to increase that value. So that's what we're looking at is contingency funds. Again, probably something that you're already familiar with, but just wanted to bring that up as how we present this and this concept and the idea of retirement planning. Now, legacy funds, clients want to maximize their legacy, allocate a portion of those legacy funds into life insurance. They want to protect the funds from market fluctuation. They want to provide a death benefit, an opportunity to increase the value of those funds. So, you take an example of a while ago I gave you of somebody that's got some money set aside that's got, let's say they got $100,000 in an IRA that they're not using to live off of, but they're just got it set aside for, you're going to leave it to their heirs, but they need that money just in case something comes up. They want access to that money in case they need it. That would be a good opportunity to use one of the concepts, one of the products that we're going to talk about. Now, we're going to talk about two products. One of them is single premium whole life, just a generic single premium whole life concept. And I'm going to get into that product in a second. The one that's most intriguing to me and I think fits the market of IAMS so well because of the amount of annuity premium that they do as a whole and you guys probably do individually, is that this product, the Generation Legacy, fits that market almost hand in glove. What I would think, if they're using annuity money to live off of or plan to live off of it, then IAMS has got some great solutions for that. However, this product is not a solution for that. This is a product that's designed for clients that have annuity money, non-qualified annuities, monies in 401ks, IRAs, money that's never been taxed, that they're looking to put money into, and it's called Generation Legacy. And I'm going to give you an example here before I get into the product. That way you know the concept. And I think this illustration is very indicative of a typical client. So I'm not trying to pad anything here and make it look robust or anything else. This is a female age 70, non-tobacco. She's got a $50,000 annuity with a cost basis of $40,000, which means she put $40,000 in it and it's grown $10,000. And if I'm the agent and I'm trying to talk to her about, the purpose of those funds, and she says, really, Doug, I don't need it to live off of or don't plan to need it to live off of, but, I'm just going to keep it out there in case I need something medically or I need a house repair or something like that. So, but if I'm going to try to show her the concept of leaving more money to her heirs, I would take this $50,000 annuity. I could take that and cash it in. I'm going to pay tax on she's going to pay tax on $10,000 of that. So what we're trying to do is minimize the outlay of the tax consequences in all cases. And in some cases, based on our other taxable income, we may be able to completely do away with any tax that would be paid on that $10,000 there. So what we're doing is when you issue a Generation Legacy to a client, or we do to a client, you're going to deliver two policies. The policy, one's going to be a SPIA, single premium media annuity, and the other one is going to be either a 10-pay whole life policy or a 7-pay whole life policy. It's going to be based off the client's age. If the client's between the ages of 60 or 60 and 75, it's going to be a 10-pay policy. If it's between 75 and 80, it's going to be a 7-pay policy, just based off the client's age. But this is an illustration of a client that's 70. We take the $50,000 annuity that she's got, we roll that into our SPIA, so therefore there's no tax consequence from annuity to annuity transfer, 1035 exchange that. So we now have that into our Generation Legacy SPIA. So you see that in there in the third column over, $50,000 single premium. In the first year, we're going to make a SPIA payout of that, of the principal and the interest off that, of $5,570. We're going to look back at the excluded amount, the amount that she would not be required to pay tax on based off of the $40,000 cost basis above that. And you see the exclusion ratio there of 71.8. We calculate that exclusion ratio for you in all of our illustrations. Means that she would be left with an estimated taxable income in each year, first year and each year down, except the 10th year is a little smaller, but of $1,570.74. She'll get a 1099 every year for that $1,570.74. So what we're looking at there is, would she rather pay tax on $10,000 up front and use what was left to buy insurance, or would she rather use that full $50,000, maximize the amount of death benefit, and based off her other taxable income, pay a much smaller amount of tax on that? So the taxable income that she would add to her other income would be $1,570.74 in this example. Now, what that's going to put out is a $78,451 tax-free death benefit. In addition to that, one of the things that's a little different from us than other carriers or some other carriers out there, we're going to continue to pay that SPIA benefit payable at death. So we look at it, we issue 2 policies, we're going to pay an additional death benefit. So if the client died in the first year, we're going to pay the death benefit to the beneficiary tax-free of $78,451. And then that beneficiary could also elect to get a lump sum payment or continue to get the SPIA payout of the $5,570 to them for the remaining years in that. So if they died in the 5th year, we've obviously paid out some premium. So the premium that would be left there, we'd pay the $5,570 for the next 5 years in this example. You know, I think this is very indicative. You could take this same illustration if you just think about it, and you can say, okay, it's a $50,000 annuity, but let's say it's an IRA. So the cost basis is 0. So $50,000, there's no cost basis. So the single premium is still a tax-free exchange, 1035 into our SPIA. So you got $50,000 there. The SPIA payout is still $5,570. The excluded amount, because there's no cost basis and it's an IRA, would be 0. And then that client would get a taxable 1099 every year and pay tax on $5,570. The death benefit would be the same. The SPIA payout benefit would be the same in the event of an early death. The only difference there would be the excluded amount. And again, I go back and say, what we're trying to do is to keep that client from paying tax on the taxable amount all up front, and trying to spread that tax liability out over either a 10 or a 7-year period. So that's what we're trying to do with our generation legacy. And you think of clients that, I would encourage you to think of clients that may fit this that you've seen recently or you're going to see coming up in the next few weeks, and get with your IAMS marketer and talk to them about, an opportunity, something else to present to that client. Maybe you're going out to talk to them about an existing IRA or an existing annuity that they have out there. I think it's important that you have other solutions out there. Maybe they don't want to use that IRA to live off. There's no plan to do that. Maybe they've got just in mind to take that money and leave it to their kids or their grandkids. And I think this is at least a solution that you should talk to them about. It maybe not be the solution that they choose, but it's at least a different solution that's going to provide a tax-free death benefit for them as well. So when you look at, I said we had the 2 products, and I think I can get this sheet out to IAMS. I can get this out, and they can send it out to you guys as well too. I think it's a great one-pager to give you kind of a breakdown of the differences in the 2. And I mentioned to you earlier that the biggest difference between these 2 products, the single premium whole life and the generation legacy, is really the source of the funds. Source of the funds for single premium whole life is after-tax cash vehicles, CD money, money market money, 1035 exchanges from other life insurance, and that kind of thing. Generation legacy, the source of the funds is typically an annuity, non-qualified annuities, qualified funds, IRAs, anything like that. That's the biggest difference in what product I think you should look at first. Issue ages are a little different, and for every difference there's always a reason for it. Issue ages for the single premium whole life are 50 to 85, where they're 60 to 80 for the generation legacy. We just don't think a client. One of the things, obviously, if you're taking some qualified funds or money that could be used to live off of, we don't think you can ask somebody realistically, somebody age 50, 55, whether or not they're going to need those funds to live off of when they retire. That's the reason that we raised the age on made the minimum age on the generation legacy 60. Underwriting classes, one of the benefits of the single premium whole life is that you have 2 tables there. Level 1 is standard to table 4 underwriting. Level 2 is table 5 to 8. And again, we're going to do simplified underwriting on this. You're going to take the paper application on the client. While you're there in the client's house, you're going to be able to make a toll-free call to our underwriting call center. Our underwriting call center is actually there in Omaha, where IAMS is located, and they do a great job for us. It's Elite Sales Processing, ESP, and they will tell you what the qualification is for that client in about an 8 or 9 minute call. If that client qualifies for level 1, qualifies for level 2, or in some cases may not qualify. I will tell you that we have right now about a 92% or better qualification on all of our business on the single premium whole life. You don't see that same level 2 for our generation legacy. It just doesn't meet, when you try to do a level 2 with that, it doesn't meet the suitability standards that we want to hold out there. Because on the single premium whole life, what you've got is level 1. Let's say that a level 1, go back to that same illustration a while ago on the generation legacy. Let's say you had that same client, had a $50,000 premium that bought $78,000 and change, a death benefit. Level 2, the premium obviously doesn't change because it's a single premium. It still has a $50,000 of death benefit, but it may only buy $72,000 of death benefit. So the level 2, because of the higher tables, is simply just going to buy a smaller death benefit in relation to the premium that was paid. They both have the point of sale underwriting that I talked about. We do have great point of sale decision making. So before you get out of that client's house, you're going to know whether or not they qualify and what they qualify for. So you can write that information on the application, so we know when we get it in that it's already been underwritten, approved by underwriting. The minimum premium for both of them is $5,000. You do have partial withdrawal options for both the single premium whole life policy, and then the cash value on the whole life policy for the generation legacy. They both have loan availability up to a maximum rate of 8%. I think right now our current rate is 6%. One of the benefits too, you're going to find, I'm going to give you some sales ideas in a second. The accelerated death benefit. There are some differences in the accelerated death benefit. I could get into that different. The reason that there's differences on that for you at a later time. I just don't have the time in this call and I don't want to get too far in the weeds to do that. But for single premium whole life, you can get up to 95% for terminal illness, 90% if the client goes into a nursing home. And this is off of the death benefit. This is not off the premium they pay. This is off the death benefit. They can get extended care, home health care, adult daycare. They can get up to 80% of the death benefit as a acceleration of that death benefit. Now for generation legacy, for terminal illness, it's 75%. Nursing home, it's 50%. And extended care, home health care, and adult daycare, it's also 50%. And really the reason for that is if you've got two separate policies, the client could typically or theoretically, with a generation legacy, they could be 2 years into the policy and they say, hey, I was diagnosed with something, but my doctor, he says I've got less than 2 years to live. So I want to accelerate the death benefit on the life policy. And we do that. And then that client could turn around after we paid them that acceleration, and they could say, okay, now I want to terminate that life policy, and I want to have the SPIA payments paid directly to me until I die and then to my beneficiary after that. Because we issue two different policies, you can actually split up the policy that provides additional liquidity, provides changes in their family status, that they may need funds after the fact, that kind of thing. So because that generation legacy is two policies, we can split that up. So that's the primary reason that you see the differences in the acceleration of the death benefit between those two products. The maximum face amount, we use what's called a net amount at risk for both of these products. Level 1, the net amount at risk to us is the difference between the premium paid and the death benefit. So if it's a level 1 product on a single premium whole life, between the ages of 50 and 80, the net amount at risk would be $250. So if you had a client that gave you $200,000 in premium, they couldn't go above a $450,000 death benefit. If they gave you $100,000, they couldn't go more than $350,000 death benefit. And typically, because of the higher ages, you're not going to have to worry about that. It's usually when you get down in that 50, 55 age category that you're going to run into those issues. Now, the 81 to 85, it drops to $150,000 net amount at risk. Again, because of the higher ages, it's very seldom that you'll bump up to those levels. Level 2, you can see there that they drop down. The net amount at risk drops down proportionally as well too. Now, on the generation legacy, the maximum that we're going to buy, that we're going to use, is a $450,000 whole life policy. You know, as we said, this is all simplified underwriting. We'll go up to $450,000, and our illustration software will work backwards for you. It'll say if you've got $200,000 source of funds. You got money coming over $200,000 to be 1035 exchanged into that. How much face amount will that buy? It won't let you exceed the $450,000 a whole lot, but it will tell you up to that amount how much is necessary to buy, what it will buy based off the premium that you paid. Again, the death benefits, the face amount of the SPIA, with the generation legacy, the face amount there is the whole life policy plus any remaining SPIA payments that may be available to the beneficiary as well too. I want to talk a little bit. These things that again, I'm talking probably all different levels of producers with different levels of experience. But these are some of the things that we find where you find clients. And think about this as you go through your day-to-day and when you're talking to the IAMS marketers there. Talk to clients about annuities that they have that's not needed for daily living. If you're working with clients a lot with annuities, they don't have ideas that single premium life exists or the opportunities that behind it. So be sure to ask them, the purpose of the funds, which I'm sure you're doing. If they're funds that they just got out there for what-if money and they need some liquidity to make sure that they can cover some of those expenses, our generation legacy provides that with the cash values out of the whole life policy. And then if they need to, they can utilize the funds in the SPIA if they were to terminate the life policy necessarily. Ask the client if they got leave behind money. I'm always when I was an agent and I spent 15 years in the field, ask a client if they've got leave behind money. It's what you don't want is a yes or no answer. You're looking for a client to have a conversation starter with a client. When you mention leave behind money, they're probably going to say, well, what do you mean by that? And it's really, if you've got any money saved at all, it's for one or two purposes. It's either to live on, which is a great annuity conversation, or it's to leave behind, which I think brings in the generation legacy and the SPWL conversation. 1035 exchanges of older paid up policies being life policies. A lot of clients in this age group, they bought policies that were, $1,000 face amount. In some cases lower than that, $1,500 face amounts. And they've got all these policies that are fully paid up. And in a lot of cases, you can take the cash value out of those policies and 1035 exchange those into a much higher death benefit with a single premium product than they ever bought back using those old CSO Commissioner Standard Mortality tables back from years and years and years ago. Another idea is Universal Life Rescue. I started in the insurance business coming up August 27th will be my 37th year in the insurance industry. Back in the mid-'80s, we sold a lot of Universal Life. A lot of clients in this age group bought Universal Life and in some cases still have those old Universal Life sold at extremely high interest rates. And I think back in that time, we were illustrating anywhere between 12 and 14% interest rates because that was the interest rate environment that we lived in at that time. A lot of these clients, they know what's going on with their Universal Life. They can look at the back page of their illustration, and it'll show where their starting cash account value and cash value at the beginning of the year and what it is at the end of the year. And they can see what that's dropping, and they got a pretty good idea in their mind how quickly that's going to run out of funds. And if they talk to their agent, the agent's probably told them, well, you've got to raise your premium significantly, in a lot of cases really significantly, or you can take a reduced amount of insurance and still pay that same higher premium, or you can cash it in or let it lapse when it runs out and then have no insurance left. The idea behind a UL rescue is take the cash value out of that policy that's left. You're not going to buy probably the death benefit that was on the existing Universal Life because they bought it a long time ago and at a much younger age. But what you can do is give them that security of knowing that their death benefit is going to be the same. It's not going to go down. They're going to start to rebuild cash value. But one of the critical things too, I think gets lost in that. Let's say they were paying a $200 a month premium into that Universal Life and been paying that for, a number of years. You can then save that $200 a month for them to use for their own personal expenses or to buy other products that you might have available. Burial account. You think about that even in the small face amount to final expense market, if some of you operate in that. I'll give you an example of that personally. My parents, when we developed this product, my mom and dad had two $10,000 CDs that they had to pay for their own final expenses. So my brother and I wouldn't have to come up with those funds. I was able to take about $6,000 in my mom's CD, put that into SPWL, and I took about $7,000 of my dad's CD and put that into a $10,000 single premium life for him. I bought two $10,000 tax-free death benefit products, one on each of them. I saved them a total of about $7,000 that they could spend on other things. and accomplish the same thing. So I think that's important to not lose sight of that. Even clients that don't have a lot of funds set aside. Another idea is how to use accelerated death benefit rider. A lot of these clients have that what if money sitting out there for, what happens if I need to go into a nursing home, or what happens if I have a medical situation that comes up and things like that I don't want my kids having to pay for. And in a lot of cases, that accelerated death benefit rider on both products is going to help meet those needs. And then another one there's not used as often, reduced 1099 income and exposure to income tax on Social Security. Those are some other ideas as well, too. I put out there some ideas for business owners. It's not used so much in a business environment. It can be there for reducing tax liabilities and corporate retained earnings, financing an employer's obligation under a non-qualified deferred comp plan, or a vehicle for after-tax employee contributions. So those are some ideas. I can make this presentation available to people. That way you don't, or we can get this. I actually have this out on a white paper that we've done out on our website. So if you have access to our website, you can actually go out and get a white paper on these different sales ideas, and they're explained in a lot more depth than what I've tried to do it here. So I hope I've given you some ideas as you're talking to clients in the future, and clients that you may have already that you're working with, to give you just a different conversation piece to be able to talk to them about other products than just what you're talking to them about now. I hope I've answered and gone through that. I've tried to take up a little less of your time than what we may have done, because I did have some technology issues on the front end. It was my fault. But if you have other information, if you have other questions, feel free to reach out to the people at IAMS first about product information, because they're very up to date on our products. If you have other questions around licensing or underwriting or something else going on within Baltimore Life, reach out to our agent service center. This is a service center, call center that's dedicated directly to agents only. We have a client service center as well too, but the agent service number is 877-533-2468. And that staff will be very glad to help you and answer any questions that you might have about getting contracted, your contract pending business, commissions, whatever it may be. They're able to try to have a one-stop shop there where they can try to answer your questions without passing you on to another any other people within the building. So with that, Curtis, I'm finished. I don't know if there's any questions out there that anybody have. I'll try to answer those questions within the amount of time that you guys have left to spend on the call.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Doug. One question I had is, could you go back through, because as you'd mentioned, it's kind of accelerated underwriting. So somebody can do a phone interview, right? So there's no APSs, there's no medical exams, all that kind of stuff. But can you walk back through that again?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would lay out the scenario, and hopefully that answers your question. You're going to be in the client's house. You're going to take the paper application like you might ordinarily, or do it. You can do it DocuSign as well too. Once the application is taken, you're going to be able to dial right from the client's home or place of business, wherever you're meeting with them at, to a toll-free number. Goes into Elite Sales Processing there in Omaha. They're going to verify who the client is and verify the state and that kind of thing. And then they're going to go back through the health questions of that client. In the meantime, they're also going to run a what we call a Lab IQ. We no longer use MIB. We're running a thing called Lab IQ. They're going to run a prescription drug check. There is no APS. They're going to get back instantaneously a thing back from prescription drug check and a thing from Lab IQ that can tell them within just less than 15 seconds whether or not that client has other medical issues. If that client has taken a prescription for something that is on the app, they can address that particular question, that particular medication that the client's taking. They can find out if it's for a dual use type of medication. Maybe it's for a medication that's typically used for heart, but in this case, the client says, well, I take it for restless leg syndrome or something else. They can identify that and work through that to be able to give a underwriting. They can validate what they're getting from the prescription drug check and the Lab IQ and that kind of thing. So it's that call typically takes from the time you start it till the time it's finished, and you get the answer back with the client about, I'm saying, anywhere between 8 and 9 minutes. And then when you get off that, they'll give you an underwriting number. You can write that number on the top of the application when you submit it. When we get that in, we're going to know that the underwriting has already been done on that. First thing we want to do is get the app entered and submit the 1035 to the other carrier, where the funds may be coming from. If they're not coming in by check, we can submit those off and get that off as quickly as possible too, to start the process of that. Did I answer your question, Curtis?
Yeah, I appreciate you going back through that again. And I'm going to go ahead and launch our final poll of the day, which is if you have interest in Baltimore Life getting contracted, go ahead and fill out the poll here. But what I can tell you is, single premium life has grown consistently year after year and is such an effective vehicle for either wealth transfer or as a holding vessel. Banks aren't acting like they want your money, and oftentimes what you run into is if you've talked about the multi-year guarantee annuity and the client's not necessarily liking that, single premium life insurance is going to give a better interest rate than the CD. And you're also going to have in many scenarios a little bit more liquidity as well. So it's a great vehicle to utilize. And then the living benefits. I mean, the two biggest expenses in retirement are going to be taxes and healthcare. And so the ability to advance a larger pool of money to help take care of whether it's nursing home or home health care is an attractive feature. So if you have interest in getting licensed with them, go ahead and check yes on the poll. And Doug, I really appreciate you taking some time with us today and kind of taking a deep dive into some concepts and ideas and marketing ideas and how the products work. And looking forward to the rest of the year. And as I mentioned, make sure if you have interest in that Life and Annuity Academy, those spots are filling up. Make sure you talk to a sales director over here, and have a good Friday and a good rest of the day and good weekend. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, everyone.